Hey guys, Dr. Ben here. Welcome. Hope you guys are having a wonderful day. I'm going to go over today something that is been recommended for a long time, and that is daily aspirin. How many of you guys have been told in the past, hey, take aspirin a day. It's going to thin your blood. It's going to prevent you from having clots, things like that. Give me a thumbs up if any of you guys have had that. Well, today I'm going to go over some latest research that is now they're actually altering that thought, especially for people over 60, and that it is not recommended, and it's actually highly discouraged to do a daily aspirin. So, hey, Deanne, good to see you. Pop down below where you guys are watching from, and I'm gonna let you guys know, not just don't take aspirin every day, but what can you do alternatively? What can you do instead of taking that aspirin if you're afraid of clots, if everybody in your family has a stroke or heart attack or things like that, what you can do. But this latest research coming out is now showing that daily aspirin is actually more damaging than it's helpful. Yes, for a few people, they're showing that it can have a mild reduction in risk of heart attack or strokes and things like that. But ultimately, what we're seeing is that it increases the risk of bleeding, intestinal bleeding. It's crazy. Average of 15 to 20,000 people a year die from intestinal bleeding from taking NSAIDs, aspirin, ibuprofen, all these different types of anti-inflammatory blood thinning type drugs, and they actually die from bleeding in their intestines from it. So we've known this for a long time, but now they're saying the risk of that, the risk of bleeding in your brain, the risk of bleeding in your lungs is much higher than the benefit to taking that every day and helping with stroke, things like that. So here's the deal. The research is now out there saying, especially if you're over 60, do not be taking an aspirin a day. It is more detrimental than it is helpful. So what do we do, right? We can't just go in and say, oh, you know what? Don't take that and then just keep living the life that you've been living. So this is where we have to get into how can we, if we're worried about thinning the blood, how can we thin the blood naturally? We know that leafy greens are a huge part of this. Sharon, what if you have been taking it over 10 years since you were 40 with history of high cholesterol and heart disease runs in the family? Stay on it. So here's the deal, Sharon. I can't tell you to get off or keep taking it, but you need to start doing some research. You need to look into other things that are going to not be as damaging as aspirin, but still have some of that blood thinning effect. So here's some of those, Sharon. Leafy greens. We know that if somebody is eating their leafy greens on a regular basis, they are going to thin their blood more. Spinach and kale and a lot of different greens are going to have blood thinning effect. If somebody's on Coumadin or some of these blood thinners, they say don't eat leafy greens while you're on that. Why? Because it's going to thin the blood even too much. Well, here's the deal. Even if you're on Coumadin or some other type of blood thinner, you still need to get your leafy greens in. You just go back and get your prothrombin test and see, okay, now let's lower it, and you're going to eat the same amount of greens on a regular basis, and so then you're going to be able to support that blood thinning. Yes, you may still need to be on your blood thinner, but you're going to take less because you're doing a lot of these other good things. So leafy greens is a huge one. Number two, you're going to get on a high dose fish oil, and this is more of the EPA as opposed to DHA. Remember, we have EPA and DHA, and EPA is more of the heart protective, blood thinning, things like that. DHA is more of the brain support, things along those. The doctor put me on one low dose aspirin per day. Here's the deal, Pamela. That's a whole nother story. And again, I'm not telling you to get off that if your doctor told you to take that. But here's the deal. Look into other things you can do to thin your blood, and then maybe even take less of that. Deanne, I take a lot of ibuprofen due to back pain. Are there any safer alternatives for pain relief? We'll get to that here in a second. So high dose fish oil is going to be a nice blood thinner. Vitamin E is going to be a potential blood thinner as well. So you want to be taking some vitamin E, some fish oil, lots of green leafy vegetables. You want to be doing consistent cardiovascular activity. Mac, does cayenne pepper thin the blood? Maybe not. I wouldn't say, oh, if you take a whole bunch of cayenne pepper, it's going to thin the blood. It may increase blood flow, just kind of a circulation thing. But I wouldn't say it definitely shows that. Brenda, my son keeps getting terrible fever blisters. Help, please. So that's an immune system thing. He's got to get his immune system built up and stronger. Check out some of our other videos on immune system stuff. So here's the deal. You've got to get your blood working and as thin as we possibly can. Make that nice and fluid in there, and we're going to see some massive changes and that potential. Because remember, if somebody's taking even a low dose aspirin every day, the research is showing that we are going to be getting excess issues with thinning of the blood in the digestive tract, where we're going to get some intestinal bleeding. We're going to get some potential brain bleeding, some other things along those lines. So again, if you're doing it for something like the aortic valve replacement or things like that, you've got to have those conversations with your doctor. What are some alternatives? If we test how thin my blood is, because there's a test that you can go and check and see how thin your blood is. And if you're like, hey, I'm going to get off this aspirin, but I'm going to do everything I can to get it as thin as possible. With the fish oil, vitamin E, doing the green leafy vegetables, and then retest it. And if it's just as good off the aspirin but doing all these other things, that's great. Then they should be happy with that as well. So again, here we go. Aspirin a day doesn't necessarily keep the doctor away. It can actually cause more problems than are helpful. For those of you that did not hear yet or did not see the link, go ahead and pop that down below there. Brittany, tomorrow night at 6 o'clock Mountain Standard Time, so that's 7 Central, 8 Eastern, we're going to have a live, end up being about an hour webinar getting super in-depth into thyroid and all the physiology of thyroid, what Hashimoto's is, how to fix it, all these different things. So if you have not registered for that, it's a Zoom link, so you'll need to get into the Zoom room, and Brittany will pop that down below and we'll have those links. So sign up for that, and we're excited to have you guys on there. So Jane from Vancouver, happy Wednesday. Good to see you. Canada, great. How to come off blood pressure medication. So here's the deal with blood pressure medication. High blood pressure, 90% of the time, has a high blood sugar component. If somebody gets their blood sugar down, somebody gets their blood sugar in balance, their blood pressure comes down as well. So that's, here's my continuous glucose monitor. Every patient that we work with is going to be getting one of those, and that's how we optimize that. Pamela, is nattokinase okay? Yes, the nattokinase does not cause that bleeding in the intestines, etc. So that's a great one. Some people find that just as constructive as taking aspirin, as far as just kind of thinning the blood, making sure that you're keeping that nice and fluid. But remember, why is your blood thick in the first place? And there's going to be a blood sugar component, an inflammation component, all of these other things that are causing that. So even though your A1C is 5.3, you can still be bouncing up and down, up and down, up and down. 5.3 doesn't tell me a whole lot. All it means is that you're not averaging really high, but you could still be going really high and really low and crashing up and down, up and down. So you need to see your non-fasting insulin, your non-fasting glucose, and see what's going on there. That to see who's and said I would like to see who funded that research because it's been used for so long. And so that just because it's been used for a long time doesn't make it okay. We've known for years 15 to 20,000 people a year die from that digestive tract issue and that damage in there. So definitely not the best. Can I get a continuous glucose monitor from a company in Canada that you know of? Michelle, drop us a line. We've actually worked with patients in Canada and have been able to get that done. What I know you can do is from your pharmacy, you can get a finger prick glucose monitor. I think they give those to you for free. Hey, Michelle, good to see you. It's just up in Rocky Mountain on Friday. All right, guys, I got to jump, but interesting. And they're finally coming out and saying, you know what, we cause more damage by taking these aspirin a day than we actually help and prevent other things. So thanks for jumping on, guys. Remember, it's not about taking another drug. It's not about taking another surgery. Your body has that ability to be as healthy as feasibly possible, and you've just got to go in and get it figured out where those imbalances are. And once you do start fixing those, that's when you see the miracles happen. Take care, guys.